Yeah, this is another OnAction interview. Today we're with Charley Palmer-Rothwell. So these conversations are all about a kind of industry mentorship, which is something that I think is lacking in our industry, that is present in a lot of other industries. I do have friends who have been provided mentors through like their drama schools and things like that. It wasn't something that was ever provided to me. And quite often they knew things that I always thought, how do you know that? And it's kind of come through conversation that they actually had people who, yeah, passed a bit of knowledge from upstream, rapids ahead, kind of thing. So that's what these conversations are about. So today we're talking to Charley Palmer-Rothwell. Charley, obviously, me and you have worked together for a long time. You're a top actor. Absolutely love working with you. A really interesting artist with an interesting journey. Um, you worked across TV and film in some everything from from kind of really high quality shorts to big budget kind of blockbuster films. So I just probably want to just ask you a little bit first, just about your journey into the acting world, or just your kind of first artistic um, experiences, and how did you end up becoming an actor?
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Ben. That was yeah. It was very kind of you. I want to like flip it back on you straight away. I just want to
Yeah,
ask
go
you
on.
something quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, is that when you said the mentorship thing is quite apparent in other industries?
Mm.
My question is like, is it? I didn't know that way. Is there something in particular that
In business.
in business? Yeah.
In business, it's something that's always advised. I mean, it's something that I've gleaned in particular from my own kind of self-education on business as a business owner. When it's really normalized in a kind of business environment where it's
Well,
like you
you
should,
might sort of find someone and you kind of
yeah, you seek out mentorship. It's one of the first bits of advice you get universally within business, is that you seek out people who have done what you want to do. Buy them lunch, even pay them for
okay.
knowledge that will save you years. That's the thing within business, and it is something that, like, for example, I have a friend who had a mentor provided to him by his drama school, and he did something. He basically read for her self tapes for like a couple of years,
Okay. Yeah. Right.
and
Right.
in return, she just gave him like
Yeah.
just next level advice,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and which was invaluable, and he would tell me things. We were kind of we were kind of young actors just at drama school, and he'd tell me things. I'm like, how do you know that, man? How do you know that? Um, so that was kind of what my thought about mentorship was, and how it can be facilitated in our industry, really.
Yeah, no, interesting. And yeah, and like thanks for that lovely intro. And like you've been a great mentor to me, especially, I know we do auditions together, within the audition space and framework, you helped me come on leaps and bounds in my auditions. And that's commented on by my agent as well. It really the work we've done it's also given me uh gumption. I was going to say it's a funny word, but it's given me like a real kick up the arse, really, to to want to do them good as well. Do you know what I mean? And so thanks so much for that. That was a really nice intro. How did I get into it? It's funny. I was writing down some notes of like how early do I go, and like I went back to like being like five and waking up before my mum to watch Art Attack at 6 in the morning every day, and I'd just do that. I remember that as a young kid. It was almost like a moment of peace before the world sort of woke up, and that was, I think, that was definitely, well, at least it shows me now how much, art has always been something that has, well, it served a lot of purposes in my life, but I think maybe early it was something that gave me some security and some
Mm.
comfort. And then
Where did you grow up, Charlie?
I grew up in, so that would have been with my mum in Bethnal Green. So I lived with, yeah, my mum was young. She was a teenager, and we lived in a flat on Temple Street in Bethnal Green. It was just me and her, and that was like, but that was early. And then I lived with my nan and granddad for quite a long time as well. So I
Hmm.
lived with them for a large part of my childhood as well. But yeah, it was in Bethnal Green, and then I moved to Brighton when I was 14 for 5 years. So I was there, and then I moved back to London. Yeah.
Hmm. And when you were a teenager, were you doing acting in any way, or were you doing kind of?
Yeah, well, do you know, it was again yeah, that was something I was thinking about. Is like there was a teacher at my school when I was in Brighton called Mark Probert, who was an unbelievable teacher. Sorry if I'm swearing, you might not want to
That's
swear.
okay. I'll edit it out later. I'll bleep it out.
He was really amazing, and like when we were like 15, we were watching like Mike Leigh films, and he had a real knack for. We were watching like yeah, so we'd be watching Mike Leigh films. He'd get us to write dream journals, and then we'd make plays from our dreams, and
Wow.
it was amazing. Actually, it's really like I kind of cite him as being like a savior in my life, not just in acting. It
Yeah.
was like the only subject really that I just, and it wasn't just because I loved acting, it was because of him as well. Do you know what I mean? So which really
Yeah.
goes with this conversation of mentorship actually. And like he had this knack as well for kind of bringing out some stuff potentially like that we didn't even know as actors we needed to express. It was almost like he was pulling our shadow out in a way. Do you know what I mean? And like when for my GCSE uh, performance, I did. I'm going to have to swear now because it's the title of the play.
Go on.
So the play is called Shopping and F***ing, yeah, it's Mark Ravenhill
Mark
play,
Ravenhill. Yeah, yeah.
and that was and I played a drug dealer for my GCSE play, and and also he cast me as Bill Sykes, and I remember my nan said to me that it was quite smart what he did because I didn't really fit in at that school, and a lot of the time kids were trying to dig me out for my accent. Had a really high pitched Cockney accent when I was young, like very different to my accent now, really. And a lot of the kids at that school, moving from East London to Brighton, they really tried to dig me out on that. And in a way, this is I'm repeating my nan's perception of it. She sort of said that him casting me as Bill Sykes was quite clever because then I sort of had a bit of empowerment to teach the kids how to speak Cockney. Do you know what I mean, or
Yeah,
something? And,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't see it as that. I was just really gassed to get cast in a play. Do you know what I mean? But I guess she would have observed that from the outside. But he was just an amazing, amazing, playful lunatic. He was great. Yeah.
I would think that Ollie Reed's Bill Sykes in Oliver was like one of the first roles I ever thought I want to play. I want to be. I didn't want to be Oliver, or
Yeah.
even the Artful Dodger. I was like, no, I want to be Bill Sykes.
Yeah. He's got that
What?
performance. It's like it's tortured, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I think also because my dad told me like that's a really good actor, Ben. Look, Ollie Reed. So I was like, oh, okay, Ollie Reed.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and then from you're kind of like around 18 and things. What were you doing at that time? Did you go? What were you doing? What can you say, Charlie?
Tearaway, in all
Mm.
honesty, at that time. But what I did, so I got kicked out of school when I was 16, um, and then I was working in a call center for a bit, and then doing other bits and bobs, and then a couple of my friends had gone, like that lived in Brighton, had gone to the Brit school,
Mhm.
and um, and then yeah, my mum suggested sort of like when things weren't going too well for me generally in my life. I mean, yeah, just yeah, I was really struggling at that age, and she sort of offhand suggested, why don't you try and go to that school that your friends went to, and I think I was a bit like, oh, well, I can't because I've missed it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know how I'm going to get in. I've been kicked out. What do I give them? What do I show them? Do you know what I mean? And but I applied a year later. So I applied to go down a year, and then I got in. So I went to the Brit School. But to be, yeah, we can talk about that, and there's definitely the stuff to talk about there. But I wasn't mentally compatible for what it required. I was dealing with a lot of my own sort of demons at that point. You know,
Hmm.
I was there. I was there in
Yeah,
body.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then what was your first kind of professional gig then?
My first ever professional thing it was a Virgin advert playing a young Richard Branson.
Oh, lol.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was
And
yeah. But my first, I mean, that was a commercial. But my first like drama, I guess more acting, was a TV show called Mayday, which was a 6-part BBC thing, and it was had an amazing cast. It was like Leslie Manville, Sophie Okonedo, um, this amazing actor who I've worked with a couple of times. Oh, what's his name? No. Oh, I can't remember his name. He's played some crazy villains and stuff as well. Oh, and there was another guy in that, Sam. Oh no, what? I'm gonna have to anyway. Keep talking. I'll look the names up. I'm so bad with names, mate. Yeah,
and
yeah,
yes, and then what happened from there? So you're on your first TV show,
yeah.
and did you have an agent at that point?
Yeah, I had an agent. They were called Cold Kitchen, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I was with them.
We have
Uh,
Alex Segal.
no, but I do know Alex Segal. No, I was with a guy called Ollie Thompson,
Hmm.
uh, and yeah,
Sam Spruill.
I was going to say Sparrow. Sam. Yeah,
Sam Spruill.
yeah, and he was a great, he was a really lovely mentor, because he was just really, he took on that role actually on set, actually with me. He was just very kind, um and then I worked with him again down the line as well. Actually, he's a kind man. Um, yeah, I was with Cold Kitchen for a while, for a few years, and they were really great. And then I just got cast in Legend, but then I just did a film called The Governors, and my agent, who I'm still with now, came to the screening of The Governors and
Mm.
snatched me away in the night.
And what's the governors?
The Governors is is sort of your staple kind of, lowbrow British gangster football thug kind of
Yeah.
straight to DVD banger. And actually is probably one of my proudest things ever to this day, actually, in terms of my performance and the whole experience. It
Hmm.
was the first thing I did where I like let loose.
Hmm.
I just let loose as an actor. It was great. Sorry, I keep swearing.
Okay. Yeah. And then, so you got cast in Legend quite early. And what was your experience like on that set? Obviously, that's the big set. You had a nice part in that. Had scenes with Tom Hardy. What was the experience on Legend like?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, just talking about Governors as a lead-in, because I haven't really thought until now, actually, probably um, how great timing Governors was, that it was just before, because some part of me started to understand that it's okay to to be creative, like to do your thing on set. Do you know what I mean? Because
Mm.
when I first got onto the set of Legend, obviously there was a lot of there would have, I can't really remember, but there would have been a lot of feelings going on within me, getting onto that. And the first thing we did was actually in the pub opposite the block of flats where my nan, granddad, my great nan all lived still at that point. So I was literally in my nan's kitchen. They picked me up to drive me to get makeup, to then drive me back to where I was, and then we did our first scene in the pub in the Stag, and we got onto set, and Tom, I'd heard about Method, that he was really Method, and yeah, it was just I got into. He had the other actor in a headlock, and was like noogieing him and like doing. The guy had a fake nose and he was like poking his nose and like I didn't really know what was going on. I was just like, I hadn't experienced that type of, I suppose, playfulness really, like to that level where, and then they'd just sort of say action and then you just, and also we started the scene and he was so off script that I was panicking on camera, like, I've learned the wrong scene. What have I done? I've like missed the I was just like, oh no. But then, like I said about the governor's thing, it was good timing because when I clocked, oh, these are improving, and actually, that's that teacher I said, Mark Probert. That was what we did all the time. We'd always start with improv, and I
Mhm.
loved it. So like when I clocked it, we were improving. I was just like, okay, yeah, let's have it. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it was
And
fun.
yeah, and so did you think that the kind of the what was the atmosphere like for on that set? If that's the kind of particularly for you coming in with a kind of early on in your career to kind of see a set where it's the actors are kind of playing games and there's
Yeah.
a bit of danger about it.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, what was the atmosphere? It was. I'm really glad in a way that I was new in a sense because I just was absorbed. I was just loving everything. Probably that there were some actors that were finding uh, some of it not that great. I think there was some boundaries that were being pressed by, I suppose when someone is method like that and they're playing someone that's Ronnie Cray in particular, he's very mentally unwell, and
Hmm.
Tom's playing that character a lot outside
Hmm.
of the. So I think some actors did struggle with it. Let's put it that way, and there was some stuff on set that was a yeah, the art did bleed into the set a bit. Um, at the time, I just loved it. You know,
Hmm.
I just loved it. I wasn't getting so involved that that it. Yeah, do you know what? I was learning. I was obviously idolizing Tom, right? So I was just trying to this is another good thing about we talk about mentorship. I was trying to get in his slipstream, and my character as well was someone who was a sycophant, with in terms of with Ronnie. I was, I played the character was yeah, I suppose like he was potentially one of his lovers, potentially, that's not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
no, he was bisexual, and so
yeah, yeah,
it I could just, for me, it was like I could do that in real time. It was just going to benefit me. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, yeah.
I kind of did that with him, and I learned so much from, he would do things like in scenes, he'd have a little bit of he'd have like a little book in his inside pocket, and he'd have like so many variations on the lines. He'd have them in the book, and he just try every take. He just try a different thing. He just try something mental. And he just like, and I just thought it was brilliant. And I actually found, yeah, there was actually some scenes where me and right, this is a bad one that I can't remember this name because he's such a David Fulis.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That legend, right? There was times when me and David Fulis genuinely it felt like we were just watching Tom, but we were in the scene, so we were like snap out of it, you know. Um, but I mean, it was amazing. It was an incredible thing to do, And the director had written the script so specifically, but then had so much faith that he was like, you lot just do what you want, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember because Tom Hardy went to my drama school. I think I've told you the story, but he came to kind of talk to us, came into our acting class while he was shooting Legend.
Okay.
And obviously, I can completely, as did all the boys at school, just idolized him. And we were kind of chatting to him afterwards, and he kind of sat on the bonnet of his car and told us stories for like 2 hours. It was really nice. And he goes to us because he had an Audi estate car, and he goes, "Hey guys, want to see something cool?" We were like, "Yeah." And he opened up the trunk of his car, and he had these suitcases, and he was like, "Yeah, that's from I can't remember what some film. That's Ronnie Cray, that's Reggie Cray, and that one I can't even tell you what that is." And it opened it up, and he had all the garments and all of the objects and props and things, stuff from each character, just kind of carrying them around in his car. Which obviously we were just like, "Oh my God, that is absolutely crazy." But it's interesting because the a little bit what we were taught there was to kind of play that you're always kind of playing this game. That it's something I always took forward, that if you have a relationship in a story, if you have a relationship in a play, or that you kind of engender it somehow
Yeah,
in real life. If you've got people you're supposed to have camaraderie with, then you must create camaraderie with them, or something like this, that mm, you're always playing.
yeah, I think you're right, and I think it's really good to be reminded of that actually, like because
Although you have to be then mindful of people's boundaries.
yeah, and I think it was challenging on that at points because Tom's playing someone that's violent as well, um, and he I mean, yeah, it's not exactly, it's kind of public knowledge, he does a lot of fighting and outside of acting and that. So I guess there's potentially that not everyone's used to that, that kind of, it's a bit
Uh,
rough and tumble. Like in the first fight scene I had to do with him in that. So he has a big fight with Jacob, his stunt guy, and they choreographed this mental fight scene. It was like just amazing to watch again. But I'm in the scene, but I'm watching it like whoa. And then they come round, and then he comes up to me, and he Jacob ducks a punch, and he punches me in the stomach. And in the first take, he just chinned me straight away. He just
okay.
chinned me. No, but that was the take they used. It was amazing. Again, I was young, and I was like, yeah, yeah, like punch me in the face. you know. Um, I probably still would be like that. To be fair, I'm quite up for them sorts of things personally, but I can sort of, I'm purposefully not saying too much about other people's experience, but I just know some people weren't that up for that, which is fair enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And so, how did that film change your life at the time? The opportunities that you had. I mean, it was around this time that you moved to independent. What happened after Legend?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess moving to independent was a big thing because I actually wanted to be with independent when I first started acting, and I'd gone and had a meeting there, and they said no, and I was like, no, it was like, so it's fun. Yeah, it was a nice. That was a nice moment of like, going there. I don't know, like, what changed after that? Like, mate, you know what? Like, I think also there was I think my ego went a bit crazy.
Hmm.
That's one thing on a personal level. I think I thought I'd cracked it. That
Hmm.
was a sore lesson as well. Do you know what I mean? I really thought like this is it now. I've gone clear. You know what I mean? Like, um, and I did a TV show after that went on for like 9 years that never came out. And I don't know if I've maybe never spoke to you about this.
No, no.
Well, it was a bit of a because we were so NDA'd up, and it was such a abusive set that I often didn't really want to talk about it. But yeah, there was a show that I did that's now it's all been in the newspapers, so it's all online and everything. The director's in a lawsuit at the minute with Netflix, and um, that's another whole podcast because that was I did that for a long time, and that I fought again. I was the lead in a big show, and it was
Mm.
pre it was pre AI, about AI, and it was pre like the kind of production values on terms of the CGI and all that kind of stuff were above and beyond. And again, I was riding this high like I'm going to be the biggest thing since sliced bread, and
Mm.
it was a savage lesson that because it ended up being so detrimental for me as an actor actually because I was working with a very shaming director for a very long time, long
Mm.
enough for that to become like ingrained inside me. Do you know what I mean? I took on
Mm.
that. So, but yeah, that never came out. But it's yeah, like you know, I know I can talk about it a little bit because it's all in the papers and that. Because as I say, the show itself is in court at the minute.
And what was the reason for it not being released?
The it kept one answer. Let's say is the director could never he was sort of write the theme tune, sing the theme tune, he wanted to do everything. He would literally fire DOPs on the spot and get in the camera and like you know he wanted to do every job, right? And but
Yeah.
obviously the problem with that is there's loads of problems with that, but one big problem is it it never could it could never finish stuff. So we'd shoot, you know, at one point we'd shot like 5 years of material, and then he recast the person that was my right hand man. So
So,
from a male to a female, you know, and so you know there was decisions being made that were so chaotic and dysfunctional. It was like a big um, dysfunctional. I'm hesitant to say family because
was he producing as well? Or?
yeah, so his wife was the producer, but obviously there was different producers at different times, and people were on and off it all the time, and it was yeah. So you know I did that for a long time. That was another big lesson for me, and actually, if I can, this is probably the best bit of advice I could ever give to any actor or to any human being is be careful when you're chasing fame and sort of you know, prestige because you can get taken advantage of easily. And
Mm.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, and how so? What do you how does that kind of drive or desire make you vulnerable to being taken advantage of?
Because I started not seeing when I was being taken advantage of because I was kept being promised the world. It was classic 101 abuses of power.
Hmm.
we we'd be fed a little bit, right? You're coming out to LA, you're going to have a meeting with Netflix. We do the meeting, it would be I'm in the Netflix headquarters. But then it was just like, yeah, but are we going to finish shoot? Are we going to when is it going to come out, you know? And then you'd get another little drip feed. Oh, we've got this is going on, and it's
Yeah.
like you're going to be the biggest star in the world. We've got such and such is trying to steal the project because it's so amazing. Everything's so amazing. Oh, we drip feed a little bit of the show and you go, wow, that looks amazing. But then like 6 years down the line, you're like, where's the other 6 years? Like,
My
you know,
God.
and I had experiences enough, let's say, on other things to question it. But I think, you know, again, a lot of the actors and the ones that remained on it for the longest time, and there was only a few of us,
Hmm.
young, ripe, impressionable age where we were at that age where if things did go well, it was going to be a different kettle of fish, you know. And so
Hmm.
it's a very manipulative environment and to be in actually, and then yeah. So I you know that's what I mean. Do you know what I mean? It's you see it with acting all over the place these days. You talk about people like Harvey Weinstein and that. You know, I don't want to get too into it, but it's that stuff where female actors, you know, they go, well, yeah, I did go to his hotel room because he's just produced all the biggest films and I want to be an actor. So I went to the hotel room, obviously. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I think when people question that, I don't think they quite understand, you know, that, you know. Do you see what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose, yeah, one of the things I kind of wanted to speak to you about was you're somebody that I work with that I kind of appreciated quite early on that you're a proper screen actor. That that is that your art is is television acting, or is camera acting. I remember learning a lot from you actually with when we first started working together. One of the things I really learned with you was that I have to be very careful to give notes in the room if we're shooting an audition, that we have to watch back before we start actually seeing what's happening, because your work is very subtle. And yeah. So just, I suppose, I wanted to ask you about do you feel like you have a kind of technique or a real relationship to screen acting, or is it just that is your experience and you kind of learned along the way, or a bit of both?
It's a good question, I guess. That did make me think. I mean, I guess the last part of that is very true, is that I don't really know much else. I did theatre at school, and I said I did it at Brit, but I just wasn't really there. I don't even really remember the performances, in all honesty.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I guess it's I get a bit of a buzz having a camera on me as well. I'm not going to lie. It does something to me, that it does do. I sort of, I find something that I do. I do have that thing of really knowing where the camera is,
Yeah.
and so what was the question? Was like, I do have a technique. Do I have a
Yeah, do
technique?
you feel like you have a kind of a
Yeah,
real technique at this
yeah.
point?
Well, do you know what? I wish I actually sent a voice note to an actor this week, and it was like, I need to go and train. I need to go to do some courses, because it's just I'm a one trick pony, and it was like I was really going in on myself hard, and I think it's a bit linked to that question. Sometimes I do feel like I don't have a technique, and I think I've learned from other actors, like, I mean, one thing is, I was when I was thinking about some of these questions earlier, I had the privilege of sitting with Gary Oldman for about an hour in his it's not his dressing room. I was going to say, it wasn't a trailer. When I did a film with him, and because at that time I was potentially going to be playing David Bowie, and he was friends with David Bowie, so I went and just sat with him and just chatted about him and David Bowie being mates. So cool, right? And fully just dropping that one in there.
Yeah.
But what's more than cool about that is that something that he said that I think I was already starting to understand in myself. But sometimes you hear it from someone that you really aspire to. Is he was like, he needs the work as early as possible, because he just needs to live with it. He needs to learn it as early as he can. He said with that script, so that was for The Darkest Hour. He was playing Winston Churchill. That's another thing. We're in his dressing room. He's dressed. He is Winston, and like talking like him as well. Like so, and yeah. So you got Gary Oldman as David
Dressed
Bowie.
as Winston Churchill, telling you about David Bowie.
Talking about David Bowie, yeah. But he said, he got that script a year before, right? And he said, when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm doing the speech a bit, or I might go to different places in my house and just do the lines in different places. And he said, it's not that I do it in a very routine, forced way. Like he said, I just want it to be casual. I just want it osmosis. I want to live with it. And I
Mhm.
think I'd started to learn that myself. Obviously, the problem with auditions is you're getting about 3 days,
Yeah, yeah, if that.
but if that. So I'm like, to be honest as well, that's something I actually try to set a boundary with my agent, which is I try, if obviously sometimes they're going to push back and say, well, you've got to do it. But a lot of the time I'll say, listen, I can give this to you in 3 days.
Yeah.
And actually, if it's late, and this is not, I'm not saying this to advise young actors. That might be the wrong strategy, but I just know for me, I need a little bit of that osmosis to do some good work. Um, that's probably the most strategy I've got. Just live with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you're approaching then auditions, what kind? yeah, what's the first thing that you're doing? Obviously, you want to have a bit of time with the script. I mean, I always advise that you just want as many sleeps on that text as possible. That the just even the work that happens as soon as you get it, you want to start work so you can get a maximum amount of just night sleep on it. Amount of every actor's had that experience that you sleep on the script and it's just embedded the next day. But yeah, what other kind of approaches do you have just for thinking about? You're an actor who always comes in with you've always got ideas. I always feel like you're thinking creatively about things. Um, you
Yeah,
always
I think being creative and playful, and I guess like it's a hard one to put that in a box because creativity in its essence is finding something. I think I try to. I remember when I watched one of those roundtables when I was quite young, and Johnny Depp said something interesting about like it was quite specific, but like I've maybe taken parts of it where he said like he finds like an animal, someone he knows really well,
Yep.
and then maybe something else. I don't know. I can't. And then he sort of usually makes characters from that. And I suppose I have taken that on board a bit. I don't do it as specific as that. I don't like find an animal every part, but
Mhm.
I guess I chimed with the essence of what he was saying. Like you can use analogies anywhere, and actually that made me think of something in Stanislavski's book where he talks about if you see a dead animal on the street, go and spend some time with it, right? And just like, right, and I know it's, but
Yep.
go and don't. Most people are going to turn their nose up and go like, oh my god, it's roadkill.
Yep.
Go and be an artist and just observe like what comes up in your imagination. Then because that might inform an audition. You might start thinking, well, what did it feel like when that squirrel got squashed?
Hmm.
Or like, or you might see, I might see someone in the street, that's got a certain way about them. And I'll always be like, oh, I've got to just hang about and look at you for a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I've kind of noticed working with you, sometimes you seem to do is like kind of charge yourself up. You kind of talk yourself up
Yeah.
into a scene. You're kind of. There's been times we've been working together when you've been looking at me going, fucking- you think you're you think you're better than me. You've been kind of speak.
Me.
You think you're you think you're funny. That was one particular part that just springs to mind where your character really had to be low, had a low status and had been wronged. So you kind of spoke yourself up, kind of charged your inner life, and then
What's actually no, that's
it kind of vibrates out, which I just thought was such an interesting approach. That you're kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
charging up your inner life.
That's I'm sort of not just for the sake of the interview, for me, glad to hear that because actually that is not something that I've ever like written down as a strategy. But what I started to notice is that I will say I do get the scene 3 days before. When I'm learning the lines, I'm really in my imaginal space. Like I'm really imagining it more than the lines. The lines to me are secondary. And like so what sometimes I do is when I then get to that point, say we've got to do a scene and I will do that thing of being like, okay, I start the scene, I sit down, I have a cup of tea, I sip the tea, I'm a bit pissed off, and then my mum comes into the room and I have to go shy. And I do, and it's because what I'm doing is I'm actually reminding myself of the last few days of this reinforcement of this imaginal scene. Because then what I find I can do is when you say rolling, actually then it just kind of just like comes out rather than thinking action, hey, there's this thing, then I've got to do this thing. I'd much rather just like get something wrong and just like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah. And just one thing to say, because I think maybe this is useful for I guess in the terms of the mentorship sort of concept of this conversation, is that what it also does is I find I can still be quite nervous about performing something in front of anyone, in front of you, in front of you know, I might have done scenes with certain other actors a million times, but I'm still a human, and I still have a part of me that wants to hide. What I do then is I go, I'm taking charge. This is what I'm going to do in this scene right now. I'm not fucking embarrassed. This is what I'm going to do. And actually, even if the scene has to be small, it's me kind of saying it's a part of me affirming the scared part, going, no, no, no,
Hmm.
don't be scared here. You know, well, not don't be scared. I know, I hear you. I know you're frightened. But we've done a lot of work on this. You know, I'm splitting myself into parts here, but I do that a bit. You know, it's like
Hmm.
it's okay to be frightened, but look how strong we are and look how much work we've done. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. So there's so you do have some technique. I think it's
Yeah, but
clear. It's
you're
clear.
helping me by telling me this. You know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was when you were kind of doing this kind of because you like to improv as well, a lot with to go into things. It keeps your auditions are always so the it always just feels like it's you're making up as you're going along. That it never feels liney, never feels. I never feel like I'm watching an actor doing a scene. I never hear the scene, even if sometimes the words aren't perfect or it's got some kind of messiness to it. It never ever feels like um, an actor doing a scene. Never feels liney. I never hear the choices or anything like that. It always has a kind of freshness to it. So, just your kind of perspective of imagining the whole situation first and the lines being secondary is just um mm, that is something I try and that I'm trying to communicate to people a lot, in particular people who are coming from any kind of theatre background, any kind of drama school, because the words are primary, where the words are everything, and people don't like it. It sets off the bullshit alarm as soon as we hear the line, as soon as we hear the scene, as soon as we feel like, oh, that's an actor acting, it just sets off the alarm and we just turn off.
Yeah.
Kills your auditions.
Have you seen Steve, the film
Steve?
Steve?
No, no.
God, that is an acting masterclass from Cillian Murphy in terms of what you're just saying.
Uh-huh.
Is that film? I watched that film and I'm like, he's inside that film. It's like you're just with him. It's exactly everything you just said, but to the highest order.
Hmm.
He is. It is. It's brilliant, brilliant acting. That. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you also have some like other artistic kind of avenues that you work in, in music and writing, and so. Uh, Yeah, have you always been interested in other art forms? How does that inform your work? Do you kind of see it as part of the same? It's all just your art that goes hand in hand with your acting, and yeah, talk to us a bit about your music and writing.
Yeah, so I make music under the pseudonym Truman, which is kind of relatively new. I've only sort of started releasing stuff in the last 2 years. I've got an album coming out, the beginning of the rollout. The first track's out on the 28th of November. Um, and how did that start? It started through writing poetry and then just exploring writing poetry like whilst music was on, and then they just sort of like merged. Do you know what I mean? I went to a this kind of, it's like an open mic night, but it was just sort of for the kind of the audience were also musicians, so it was almost like just a scratch night for musicians in Margate.
Mhm.
um, and I would kind of go there and read poetry there, and yeah, and then I just started writing to music, and it was a really fertile, like uh, welcoming, affirming place. It's called Song Salon in Margate, and so then I just went in and I started just reading some stuff with music, and then I was like, well, I'm kind of rapping here, I guess. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I, to be honest, like rap and hip hop is and grime, I suppose, as well, is a massive part of my life, like from when I was really, really young. Um, and yeah, I mean, I never thought I was going to be necessarily making music. That sort of, I then, yeah, I sort of, I suppose, performed some of the stuff I'd been writing to a friend of mine who's in the music industry.
Mhm.
We went for lunch at King's Cross, yeah, and I hadn't seen him for about 3 years. And I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I said to him, like, I've got a bit of writing. And he's like, yeah, cool, like, nice. And I said, I want to read it to you. And he's like, oh, amazing. Yeah, great. Like, send it over. And I'm like, no, I want to read it to you, like, now, like, after we have lunch. And I think he was a bit like, oh, God, this is going to be so cringy. Like, what? and um, and then we went and sat on the canal, and and you know what, I'm pat myself on the back. It was ballsy. I just was like, read him some bars basically,
Mm.
and he was like, you know what? He said, I work with a producer who I think will really like it. You should just go and meet him. And then we've been making music ever since. And like I say, yeah, I've been making videos and stuff. And I think that was really nice for me, was that obviously we've spoken a lot in this conversation about improvisation and that kind of approach to any art form. It's an approach in and of itself, isn't it? You know, jazz or, you know, yeah, I suppose freestyle in rap or whatever. And, you know, it's like, and in acting, that definitely is something that I'm always pulled towards. So when it came to like doing this and being able to write and make music and make videos and be a character, it's like it was new but not new at the same time, and
Yeah.
I just had more agency because there was no director. I mean, actually, a producer in music is very similar to a director in acting. Actually, they will steer you in certain ways, but there was way more freedom. You work collaboratively with them, you know. Yeah.
Well, I loved your music. It's out there, man, and the videos are unbelievable. This video you made with James Alexander, isn't it? Directing, it was seriously cool. So yeah, do check that out if you can, Truman. Um, yeah, do you have any exciting upcoming projects or anything coming out at the moment that you can tell us just a little bit about?
Yeah, yeah, good timing this interview for plugging. I play a small part in the new Edgar Wright film, The Running Man, which is out literally like thinking like 4 days. Uh,
Okay.
so that was an amazing experience, and just working with. Do you know what? Actually, I'll tell you a little quick story because we're talking about improv and all of that. Is that I have like a few scenes in that, and I did the scene. I wasn't happy with the scene, and I think because having seen Edgar Wright's films, you know, like obviously like Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead and Baby Driver and whatnot, I really, on the one hand, was like really excited about being in a film like that, but then I was like, oh God, I can be really playful here. And when we shot, I just wasn't in that. I wasn't in the right mood. I was a bit ill, you know. I think I had COVID actually, but I was just trying to front it, you know. I was like, and I really didn't like what I did. And so I sent Edgar a voice note on the train or in the car. I was literally left set, and I, you know, 2 seconds. I sent him a voice note like, "Hey mate, like, you know, if there's any chance we can redo the scene." Um, and he messaged me. He's like, "No, it's all good. Like, honestly, if there was, you know, if it was a, if there was a problem, I would have let you know. It's great, you know." But it didn't sit right with me. And then I went up to Scotland to film some more of it, and he messaged me saying, "Hey mate, there's a chance we might be able to redo that scene." Yeah. So I was like buzzed up from even just like the opportunity of like, okay, I can rectify this, you know. And it was pretty cool because I got to set, and they had this huge, uh, crazy scene where they set up this, like there was like hundreds of extras and like crane cameras and all this, and I get to set, and Edgar Wright's like this excited little boy on set. He's like, come and have a look, come and have a look at this thing with me. Yeah. And and so I go and have a look, and then we're watching the playback on the monitor, and then he's like, okay, so he's like, I've had a thought. He's like, so I know. He said, I know from your auditions. He said that you kind of like to get a bit creative, right? Because basically, I did a mental audition when I was on holiday where I shot it in loads of different locations, and yeah, I just went in on the audition. It was really fun actually. I just had a lot of fun with it. And anyway, he said, so I know from your audition that you like doing that. He said, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give you the camera and you can just film yourself doing the scene because in this, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. I can't say it. Well, maybe this might not come out. It'll already be out, the film. But anyway, so I went and did it myself and just had such a great day. And then he came down and then we worked it together, but I was holding the camera. It was really fun. That was sick actually.
Wow.
Um, so that was really cool. I've done 2 TV shows recently that will be out next year. I can't say like too much about both of them, but I can say what they are because they're online, I guess. So there's a show called Dreamlands, which is a BBC 6-part thing, which has a really amazing cast like Anna Friel, Connor Swindells, I think his surname, and this amazing young actor called Pascal. I think her surname's Khan. She's the lead in it, and it's second thing she's ever done. She's amazing. That was when I realised I'd been in the game a little while because I sort of thought we were like the same age or something. She was like, yeah, she's like, this is my second ever thing, and I was like, what? It like span me out. I was like, oh my god. But she's amazing, and yeah, and the director of that is Miriam. Oh, what's her surname? Miriam Raja, who did Top Boy. And that, yeah, so that was really cool. And then I've just done another TV show called The Wanted Man, which again I can't say loads about. I can't give away what it's about or anything, but it was most of the work I did was with me and Hugh Laurie, so that was kind of amazing. And there was some other amazing actors on that, like Fandy Newton and like Fionn Whitehead, who's in Dunkirk. He's like the lead in that. And
Hmm.
yeah, that was that. I'm really excited about that. That's an Apple TV show. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so I'll just kind of round off with a couple of quick questions, bit of advice. What would your advice be for any actors going onto set for the first time?
Um, yeah, something that's I find really important is to really get to know everyone as quick as you can. And I lately I've only just started learning this, literally the last maybe few shows, is like find the most playful, fun people that you can be really playful around. Often it's costume and makeup. So I'm gonna just throw that one stereotype out there. Because then for me, I can be silly and feel safe being silly and be the character. And, not everyone can go and be a method actor all day and not give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? And so I think that's important. And also to remember that the director and everyone there, they usually wants it to be good. So, you might as well bring your most fire, mad, bonkers ideas and just try if you can and just do them because you're going to get loads of takes usually. I shouldn't say that. Not in every, you don't always get loads of takes, but the director will give you, they'll also tell you what they want you to do. So you may as well do what you want to do
Mhm.
first, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, and so when you're going onto set, do you come with kind of ideas about different ways you can be doing things? Do you like to come? Does that make you feel prepared? Do you feel like you can go in a few different directions?
Yeah, I think what I said to you earlier about Tom Hardy like whipping out his little notebook is
Yeah.
a good metaphor for where, yeah, I do. I try to, yeah, I want to be as prepped as possible. Like for me, I want to know it like so inside out so that actually then, yeah, I really like, uh, and also I don't always get afforded this, and maybe it's not for every character. Maybe it's not right. Sometimes I just need to stick to the script. You know what I mean? And I'll be told that. But I think for what we kind of touching a little bit on what we were talking about earlier, where me standing up at the beginning of the audition and saying, "This is what I'm going to do, Ben." Blah 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 blah. It's not just so I can remember what I'm going to do. It's also to go, I'm here and I've got agency and value and worth. Because I
Mm.
think when you're a young actor, it's scary. You don't always feel like you got value and worth, but you do because you are important. They need you to do it.
Between action and cut.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and what advice would you give to your younger self coming into the industry?
It's actually what I just said. I think it's trying to find a way outside of acting as well, because this is where therapy and other ways of um, self-investigation and stuff, trying to find a way where you can really authentically let yourself know and believe that you have a lot of worth and value as a human being,
Mhm.
because it won't come across as cocky, it will come across as confident if it's really authentic, and it
Yeah,
takes, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, any top tips for auditioning?
Go to Ben Woodall at OnAction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're like cut.
You had it here first.
Yeah, top tip. I don't know. Like again, maybe I've said it so much in this interview, but I think yeah, is just learn it. So learn it as soon as you can.
Mhm.
You know, and also keep yourself in those. You know, acting is you know, I do treat myself like a bit of an athlete as well. You know, go to the gym, be learning it. You know, do things that are going to be good for you as a human as well, because again, when you turn up, you want to also feel confident as Charlie as well. You know, like um, so whatever that means to you, do you know what I mean? Whether it might not be gym, but it might be whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
And yeah, I suppose one last one. Um, is there anything that sticks out in your mind from all of the great actors that you work with? Um, of a kind of a real gem of a lesson. Tom Hardy's little notebook is one. Is there any other lessons you've really learned from somebody on set? Could be anybody. It doesn't have to be a famous actor, but anything you
yeah.
learned from somebody on set that was just an absolute gem that you really took with you.
Okay, yeah, there was an actor called Jay Simpson who's an amazing actor. And he was like, he just said, keep yourself really fit in between your jobs and your auditions and that. Like, just because you know you know any actor knows this. It's very very difficult to keep yourself sane into you know. And so his feet, I think it was not just fit, but he did mean as in like keep yourself fit, keep healthy.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
know? Mm, I'm trying to think maybe of like a director that's like maybe kind of. I think there's been few directors that have given me some great bits of advice, but yeah, I think that you just yeah, I don't know. There's a director I've worked with a few times called David Leon, and I guess he just also encourages me to just try the camera is picking up so much. Actually, it's kind of what you said about the intricacies that definitely as actors we can forget that you know that and so yeah, you always advise this to me as well. It's like the small things do read, you know, they do really read. And so yeah.
You have to kind of trust. I find that you have to trust that those things are coming through because they don't come through with effort. You can't kind of do them.
Yeah.
Those little subtle things.
No, so and actually you need to be
You need
that's
to,
where imagination really does help. And actually I mentioned earlier Stanislavski's book. I don't know, The Actor Prepares.
yeah,
Yeah, that book is definitely my foundation. And one thing in that I really took from that was how important imagining is. Or something he says in that book is like it's actually better for an actor to go into a room with absolutely no props whatsoever than to give them all the props and then so they go, oh no, it's way easier because I've got a drink out of a bottle, so I might as well just have the bottle. And I remember reading that and being like, what? That doesn't make sense. But actually for auditions especially because you ain't getting all the props, if you can imagine that there's a bottle on the table,
hmm,
you can really do that in the scene. Everything you just said about that internal thing, it's reading.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Very cool. Okay, Charlie. Well, it's been such a pleasure to have this chat with you, my friend. Thank you for everything. Just absolute dream to work with.
Thank you, mate.
So, and cool guy. Thank you very much, my friend.
Nice one.
All right. Take care, Charlie.